utilize our PPEs. And any doubts or queries which you may have, please bring it up here before we dish out your supplies. But anything you are not clear with, please feel free to let us know so that we can have a seamless activity. I mean, on the day in question for an outbreak, there are always possibilities of things going wrong or changing and not flowing. But in the same sense, it can also flow as smooth as possible. So anything which you are uncertain of, let us know. Anything we need to repeat, we will do so. And let us hope that everything goes smoothly during this session. So I call on Dr. Charmaine Melville Edwin for the revision of the standard operating procedures for animal disease emergency. Dr. Melville.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to show this. Can I move this?
Yes.
Thank you very much. And first off, thank you, Mr. Nobel. I want to commend the staff this morning for being punctual. If not all, most of you were here on time. So I want to commend you, and you can give yourself a little tap on the back this morning. We're starting off on a good note. This morning, as Mr. Nobel has already said, we're here to, it's a capacity building exercise for us to understand what it is that we have to do in the event of an animal disease emergency. In the month of May, we will be having a full-fledged simulation exercise. So my team, and I want to give a hats off to my team again, said, Doc, why don't we do what we had planned to do today, 28th, this week? Let's have an exercise as a precursor to the actual simulation. It was already planned for this week actually, but it has been postponed to May. They said, Doc, why don't we just have the exercise as a training, as a precursor to get things going so that when we actually have a simulation, it will go as seamlessly as possible. I said, sure. So they took the initiative and put things together. We want to thank ICA for supporting us in this endeavor. ICA is presently represented by Tiffany Suraj, and also Dr. King, who's wearing a different hat this morning. So we want to thank them for their support. So before we go into the actual activities that will take place during the simulation exercise, and the simulation will focus on disease sample collection. So in the event that there is a situation on the farm and you suspect that there may be not just African swine fever, but any transboundary foreign exotic disease, what would you have to do? How would you go about entering the farm? How would you go about taking samples? In this case, we're focusing on African swine fever. But the measures and the steps that we take would be pertinent, would be more or less the same for any disease, any transboundary disease. So that is why I thought pertinent this morning to let's start with our contingency plan. In St. Lucia, we have a contingency plan for avian influenza. And as Karis rightly pointed out, I took the document from our avian influenza contingency plan. And I kept it as is to show you that the only contingency plan that we have right now is avian influenza. We do not have a contingency plan for African swine fever. So we're hoping that as part of the regional project that is ongoing, we'll be able to develop a contingency plan for African swine fever, and in fact just make it a contingency plan for a transboundary or animal disease outbreak in general. Okay? So thank you for Karis for sharp eyes and for noticing that. So first and foremost, I want to give us a reminder, since we're looking at African swine fever this morning. What is African swine fever? I know we had a staff that knew that was not here when we had that outbreak in the region in 2021. After over 40 years, we had a first case of African swine fever in the Americas. African swine fever is a disease that's endemic to the continent of Africa and began spreading into Asia in 2018. And so the world was on alert. This global crisis for pork soy. So in 2021, in July, we had our first outbreak in Dominican Republic, and then it spread into Haiti. So it's now in the region, and so we are on high alert. The disease can easily spread to the rest of us. And so we need to know what it is. So, as an overview, we're going to look at what it is. I will not be very long. I'm going to look at the SOPs that you have in front of you that you need to familiarize yourself with. So everybody, when you leave every day, you should have a copy of this document and be more or less familiar with what it is that you have to do as an agricultural officer, as a veterinary officer, as a laboratory professional. What it is that you have to do in the event of an emergency. Next slide, please. Next slide. So what is African swine fever? It is a highly contagious hemorrhagic viral disease of domestic pigs and wild pigs. And it will of course cause high losses. It is very similar to classical swine fever, I don't want to confuse the two, but they're different viruses. And this is an old slide from 2021, it's not OIE anymore, it's WOHA. It is a World Organization for Animal Health listed disease. So if we do get an outbreak, we will have to report it to WOHA. When we say hemorrhagic disease, it means that there will be a lot of bleeding. So it's considered one of those diseases that you call the red diseases, because you see a lot of redness in the animal. There are several diseases that you see that redness. When you see that redness, you may have to consider other diseases besides African swine fever or ASF, and when I think of the classical swine fever or other hemorrhagic diseases. Next slide, please. It's a very large virus, very hardy, very difficult to destroy, which is one of the reasons why there is no vaccine for it as yet. They're trying to develop a vaccine for it because it's spreading and it's becoming endemic. So if that's the case, then we will have to look at vaccines, but we don't have a vaccine for it as yet. Next slide. Now, what's important to us? What are the clinical signs? Now, different types of pigs show different susceptibility. We do not, thank God, we do not have any wild pigs. We have feral pigs, but they're still of the domesticated in terms of their genetic and the genus and the family. It's still a domesticated breed. It's just that they're domesticated pigs that end up in the wild. So they're not the wild, they're species per se. But different species of Swedes or pigs, Swedes. So you have the warthogs, for example, in Africa. They would also contract African swine fever, and they actually reservoirs. Next slide, please. Let's look at the signs. So you have the acute form, and you have the more chronic forms. So in the acute form, the animal gets the disease very quickly, shows signs very quickly. You have fever, you have depression, the animals are recumbent, you have anorexia, you have loss of appetite, you have, of course, redness. Redness is a classical sign. You see an animal with redness, it may not be it can be like a septicemia, for example. An animal may just have an infection of some sort. But you see a sign of redness throughout the hood, that is a red flag. Sorry for the flag. Abortion in pregnant sows, cyanosis or the blueness, vomiting, diarrhea, death within 3 to 13 days. That's an acute form, very quick. And mortality rates can be as high as 100%. So in the acute form, it spreads quickly and all the pigs will die within a short space of time. So next slide, please. So this is what it would look like. You have a little bit of cyanosis here at the tip of the edge of the blueness, but a lot of hemorrhaging, a lot of blood vessels. Next slide, please. Again, the redness. Next slide. The huddling, the fever, the trembling, the recumbency. Next slide. So in the chronic stage, it's caused by you have some viruses that are not as virulent, and so the effect will not, the impact will not be as dramatic. So moderate to low virulency viruses, they produce less intense clinical signs, and the animal will be sick over a longer period of time. So the mortality rate will not be as high, but again, 70% mortality is still a high mortality rate. The symptoms will persist over a period of time, and gradually the animal will die. Okay, next slide. Chronic. This animal has suffered a chronic disease, so you can see the lesions in the joints, the swelling in the joints, and so on, arthritis. Next slide. Now, in terms of the post-mortem signs, Because for something like that, we see a strange disease, of course we would do some necropsies. Redness, a lot of redness within the internal organs. Hemorrhaging, lymph nodes, enlarged spleen, liver, kidneys. Look at how large the spleen is in this case. All of the redness. Yeah? Next slide. Again, you see the particular hemorrhaging in the kidneys. Lymph nodes, very congested, very red. That's in the right. That's right corner. Next slide. What does that look like to you?
A leech.
What organ is that?
The kidney.
The kidney. Right, very enlarged. When you cut that, you see a lot of redness. The borders will not stick together. A more particular hemorrhaging in the heart. All right. So next slide. I think that's it. And even hemorrhaging in the mesenteric region, the intestines. Yeah. So we got a good idea of what African swine fever is, right? And what we need to look for on the farms. You see these things, you're into high gear, and we're going to see what exactly we do. So, in terms of what we have in the AI plan, but what is applicable to any disease emergency, we will look at it. So, you have it in front of you. It's not very long. I took this out of the actual contingency plan, which is a thick document. But this is a section of the contingency plan for AI. Alright? And you also need to be on high alert for AI. I need to put a plug in there right now for avian influenza. We are at even higher risk for avian influenza because of what? Migratory birds, which are reservoirs, and we get migratory birds in St. Lucia. Some of you saw in the chat we had a pelican. Are pelicans endemic to St. Lucia? No, they come here every now and then. And these animals are reservoirs for African swine fever. So, poultry officer. So, avian influenza, my bad, I'm switching back and forth. Thank you for that. It showed me that you guys are listening. So, poultry officers especially be on high alert. Make sure your farmers have their biosecurity measures in place. Please. Alright? So, let's continue. So, it starts off with the support groups. So, in the event of an emergency, these are the groups that we call upon. We will more than likely call an emergency meeting with all these groups. In your plan, let's see who's paying attention. You have some groups that would not be here if it were African swine fever. What groups would we include? Poultry producers. And who would you replace it with? Swine. So, yeah, so you see it's applicable, right? Okay? We have an emergency, next slide. Next slide. We have our emergency response team. And all of these people here will be made up of persons from the Ministry of Agriculture. So within the vet unit, the small division that we have to put together, we have our official field veterinarians, animal health assistants, laboratory, well we don't have a lab, but we have a laboratory staff. But we will have to put a depopulation crew together, a disinfection crew together, transportation crew, quarantine enforcement, and of course communications with assistance in that area. So we all, in the event of an emergency, every single person at the vet unit would be involved. If you're on leave, we would have to call you off of leave and come to work. That I might be able to defeat. But for sure, if you're on leave, you would have to come back. You would have to call back. Okay? And this is, I want to highlight that this is the function and the role of the veterinary services. No other department, division in St. Lucia can take that role. This is our role as animal health specialists. It's a function and it's legislated, it's a function in the law in terms of an animal disease emergency and the response has to come from this. Moving on to the next section. So these are the SOPs, standard operating procedures. So you have an initial assessment. So it's more detailed in there, but I'll just go through like the slides are just short and to the point. You do the initial assessment. You suspect ASF. You identify and you collect your farm details right away. You can even you're already on the farm, so you can do an inspection if you have to. You see what's going on. You can even do a farm layout. So you can get that information. What's the farm layout? Where's the farm located? You can do that even. And your immediate action is to restrict movement of people, animals on the farm. call the chief veterinary officer right away because you suspect. Call right away. We will notify our laboratory teams. We will notify surveillance teams. And you stay on the farm. And you stay on the farm. If you're on the farm, you stay on the farm. Why would you need to stay on the farm?
To monitor whether or not the guy will sell pigs.
What else?
So you don't want to spread it.
Thank you.
Also infection.
Right. You are on the farm and you are possible, so you need to stay there and not move and spread. You need to wait for the disinfection crew to come in, disinfect you, so you can do it. Next slide, please. So it's important to communicate, it's important to observe, and to make note of these things. There are quarantine measures, we'll not get into that, that's another story. Quarantine areas that we will demarcate. We will develop vehicle color coding systems for infected areas, quarantine zone disposal, each group. And we would employ restriction orders securing the infected farm. That is why you see police involved. We would need the police to assist us with this area. That is why in the first section, you saw all of these different groups involved because they would be needed. And deployment of first responders. So next slide, please. In terms of depopulation and disposal, if we have identified and we have confirmed that it is African swine fever, humane culling of infected pigs, we have noted that in terms of euthanizing the pigs, we will have to use things like perhaps shoot them. If we have to in VR, they will actually be shooting them. Sometimes the easiest thing for us, I think, at this point would be more than likely to shoot them. Probably calling the police, SSU, to do that for us. Because we don't have the numbers are not as humongous as other countries. We have a captive world pistol, so more than likely these are some of the methods we would use. You have a question?
Well, I was just wondering, when you shoot this,
The blood,
Depends on how you do it. So you have to make sure
Single shot,
yes, single shot to that particular.
okay.
yes.
It's not just any bond to the body.
Oh, okay.
Right there. Just like you would do for humane slaughtering, right? Captive both pistol to the short hair, same thing. So there's very little splatter. On-site burial, or if we cannot do it on-site, and Dr. Best showed us how to do the shallow burial using composting methods. So we've learned that. We can do that, or we would have to transport to the landfill. The landfill has its challenges because I believe the water table is high. So the first measure for us would be the on-site burial, and we would use a composting method so that we would deactivate the virus after periods. Okay? Disposal procedures, and of course you need a team of persons to do that, make sure it's done properly, and that will have to be supervised by the vet. Disposal procedures, of course, if we have to transport, we'll improve vehicles and so on, biosecurity measures, and the rest. Next slide. Laboratory testing protocols. Of course, the lab knows what they have to do, but the team now will do the investigation. We have to go on site, take the samples. And we need to know what samples to take in terms of each disease. So, if we're doing a contingency plan, each disease will have different, there will be different types of samples that we need to collect. So for ASF, of course, blood samples. We will take blood samples from live pigs, as well as pigs who are close to death, moribund pigs, or sick pigs. We've learned a method for collecting blood from the dead pigs as well, that you will also be taught how to do that from the eye. Even if the animal is dead, there's still areas that the blood has not coagulated that you can collect blood from. We will learn that method, not today though, but we will set up another session to learn that. Spleen, liver, lymph nodes, these are also samples that can be taken. Of course, leak-proof, double bag, and I won't go into that because we look at that this morning. Next slide. Biosecurity and law enforcement. So the swine producers, that is not in your, this part is not necessarily in this, but I have to put that in there. Swine producers implement strict farm biosecurity measures on the farm, restrict access to pig farms, generally. All right, we will have to put up these things. The police and fire services will have to help us with the quarantine enforcement, security checkpoints. We can use the fire trucks for disinfection of vehicles as they move through, and solid waste management, of course, for sanitation, disposal, even mobile washroom, because there's a lot that's involved in the event of an emergency like this. Yes, Karis?
It seems a lot of the pig farmers are along the river.
as for the water management.
We can. That's a good point that we can put in the plan when we start developing the plan. Yes. Yeah. I definitely agree. Any other question?
Same question.
Okay, yes. So as we move to develop the contingency plan for ASF, these are some other considerations that will go into the plan. And of course, the communication strategy with the help of our communications unit. I think that's the last slide. Well, key takeaways. Importance of rapid response and coordination. The key for us for any exotic disease like this or transboundary disease is the rapid response, rapid diagnosis, rapid detection. If we don't detect a disease like that early, the likelihood that it will spread is tremendous. So we need to always be alert, and we need to advise and encourage our farmers to practice good. What do we need to practice? Biosecurity. We need to preach it all the time. Biosecurity to prevent the entrance of the disease. Because you know if it comes in, the likelihood of spread is
100%.
100%. And sometimes, because I need to say this at this forum, we might be the very ones spreading it.
Yeah.
Because we go from farm to farm with the same boots, the same clothes. No, understand? So we need to be very vigilant. We need to practice biosecurity ourselves, biosafety. We need to do it ourselves as we go from farm to farm. And encourage the farmers to put their foot back so you can disinfect your boots before you go into the farm, onto the farm. Okay? So these are some of the things that we'll be doing, of course, our training capacity building. So these are some of the things we need to be aware of as we move forward. Biosecurity, biosecurity, biosecurity. All right? So are there any questions, any concerns before we move on to the next presenter? So as we go on to the farms, in the event that we suspect that there is an exotic disease, there are certain measures that we have to put in place, and Dr. King, who is the regional project coordinator, Dr. King, I want to make sure I get it right, regional project coordinator for the African swine fever. What's that?
Surveillance and response, the Caribbean and Latin American and Thank you.
So, Dr. King, our project coordinator, will handle this particular aspect. Dr. King? Oh, sorry. I took over, you took over the I took over Nobel's task. Thank you, Mr. Nobel. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dr. Nobel. And I would just like to stick it in there. And for the workers to understand, or the staff to understand, if you listen to what Dr. Melville just went through, it's basically the same thing which we preach at work. Biosecurity, information, data collection, and stuff like that. And we should not wait until an outbreak to try to find out what are the coordinates for farmer X or farmer Y. Our data information says this is part and parcel of what we have to do. We should not wait at that point to try to figure out. So when any officer is on a farm and he or she suspects that there is a problem and they call it in, Dr. Melville is supposed to be able to just go and pull up and say, okay, in the vicinity there are 4 farms, all right? And those farms, we need to check them out. But if we think it is X disease, you stay here and we'll get information. Yeah, they call up the farms and stuff like that. So we don't do things just for doing it sake and saying it's sake. It all ties into the bigger picture. Sometimes we don't see the bigger picture. Sometimes we need to take 2 steps backward and look, and you will see the bigger picture. Okay? So be mindful that the task, your daily task, has a part to play, or you have a role to play in not only gathering information, but making sure that everything is done in a manner which it is supposed to be. All right? I will call on our next presenter. And I will, as she gets ready, yes, she's no stranger to us. And I'm happy that she's somebody that we're accustomed with, so we don't feel nervous, you know, when the person is, when she's doing a presentation. I call on Dr. Oria King-Snack to do the next presentation. And her model, yes. For demonstration purposes only.
Good morning, everyone. It was really nice to be here and to see all of you all again. I miss you all. So Dr. Melville spoke about the biosecurity. She spoke about the African swine fever, what you have to do, your responses, and so on. But one of the most important components of disease management is to ensure that it doesn't spread, to contain it in one area. And for us to do that, we have to have our personal protective equipment, and we have to know how to put them on and take them off safely. Okay, so this is my role here today, to give you an overview of donning and doffing of your PPEs. I have with me here today 2 models that will be demonstrating whilst I present. Also, after presentation, I'm hoping that I'm done in less than 30 minutes. I would like 2 volunteers to come in and try to do it on their own, because it looks simple, it may sound simple, but when you're under a lot of pressure responding to a disease, believe me, it can be a little troublesome. I remember when I was in Puerto Rico with Dr. Best and Robin. When we went to the farm, when we were coming out of the farm, I got stuck in the PPEs. The shoes were not coming off at all. Wow. So you know, it is important that you practice it so that you will perfect it. Also, we've learned that, I guess in our situation, we don't have much staff, so we may have to do it on our own, but usually it's done with a pairing system, a buddy system. So somebody is there with you to assist you and to ensure that when you are fully donned, that there's nothing peeking out, there's nothing, everything is done properly, and when you're doffing, that you do it properly as well. And if there's need for help, you get that help from your colleague. So we'll move on to the next slide if my models are ready. No, oh, okay. So I'll just talk about the importance of PPEs. Okay. So, everybody here is intelligent. I'm not going to go through this thing. Why do you think it's important to have PPEs? Why can't I just go on the farm like that? To protect yourself. What again? My gosh,
reduce spread.
Reduce spread. Alright, so 2 main information here is that you're protecting yourself because you don't know what disease you're dealing with. You don't know if it's zoonotic. You don't know if you can carry it and bring it to somebody and they might get a milder form of something else. You don't know. So you protect yourself, and the other objective is preventing it from spreading from one farm to the next. And Dr. Melville was just speaking about the name of the method, or the name of protecting yourself or preventing the spread of disease. What is that name she just mentioned a while ago?
Biosecurity.
Biosecurity, okay? It is the responsibility, it's your responsibility, not mine, not the farmer, not the Ministry of Agriculture, not the Minister of Agriculture. It is your responsibility as a responder to understand the safe and appropriate use of PPEs in order to prevent transmission of infectious material. It is your responsibility. So if anybody goes there and don't do it correct, you can't blame Dr. Melville. It is your responsibility. Okay? Next slide. Now there are different PPEs. So you will decide which PPE that you use. And you have to take a few things into consideration. Is it zoonotic? Is it a possibility that I can get infected and get sick? Are there any treatments or preventative measures if I get sick? What is the infectious dose? Is it a disease that you need just a little drop of it and you get really, really sick? Or you need to be exposed for a very, very long time and have a heavy dose for you to actually get sick? And what is the risk of spread and the mode of transmission? So these things you have to take into consideration when you're considering what PPEs that you should use. As he's there, and the rest of the team comes in, First thing you do is identify a safe area where you could set up, right? And that area you will demark it as, you could have a virtual line, but it's preferred if you have something physical to demark what is called your clean area from your dirty area. Okay, so this is the first thing that you do. You lay out your essentials, what you will need. Because you don't want you moving back and forth to your vehicle, you lay out what you will need for you to respond. You remove all your personal equipment on yourself, your personal equipment, your personal belongings, including your cell phone. But we don't want you to go in the farm to take pictures and you contaminate your cell phone, and you go back to talking and you end up contaminating yourself. So cell phone, jewelry, everything stays in your vehicle. This is your safe area. Yeah? Next slide. So these are the things that you will need. You will need your hairnet, your eye protection, it could be goggles or it could be a shield. You need your respirator. Sorry, get a little carried away. So you need your face mask or your respirator. Your air protection, especially if you're going to do with pigs, because of welfare issues, they recommend that you use earplugs. But I know we are accustomed to dealing with the pigs and it doesn't bother us, but it is the ideal thing to do. It might not bother us now, but later on in our life, we're wondering why we can't hear. And that's because 20 years down the line, pigs were screaming in our ears all the time. So we wear our air protection, we have our Tyvek suits, our gloves, and duct tape. Duct tape is very important. So I think as simple as duct tape is very important. Next slide. How do you do it? Okay, so we decide, as we said, we arrive at the farm, we take away our stuff, we have our street clothes, and then we have our coveralls, our normal coveralls, right? The blue coveralls that we have, that's what we arrive at the farm with, right? We prepare our duct tape. Okay, so we cut our duct tape, we're cutting the duct tape, okay? We need 4 pieces, 2 small, and 2 very long. The duct tape is to secure the gloves on your hands, your inner glove, your outer gloves on your hands, or around the wrist, and your outer boot covers on your calf. Okay? So you prepare your duct tape. So when you prepare your duct tape, at the edge,
Robin, show them how you prepare your.
oh yes. So can you watch our model over here? She will show you how. Why my voice going? I feel as if I shouted.
Yeah.
So you make a little fold, so it will be easy for you to remove when you're doffing. Because you know how duct tape could stick really hard. So could you imagine you're trying to take off this thing and you want to get out of the infected zone and then you fighting with your duct tape. So you have this little fold to make it easier when you are doffing. Okay, next slide. I missed, and it's the one for the zipper. So you could either use a small one across the zipper when you zip it up so it doesn't go back down, or you could put all the way down to the zip. Yeah? Because you know at the zip point is usually a weak point, so it could open at any time. The zip decides to fail, it opens and bam. We've seen it happen. Everything happens.
Our last simulation. Especially for the bigger people, please tape it.
Now,
another thing that I wanted to mention, as Doc said, she saw it happening, and especially for the bigger people, the PPEs are not meant to be fashionable. So we're not expecting persons that are medium to wear a small, or a large to wear a medium. It's better to go one size up, right? So if you're small, you wear a medium. So you could comfortably move in there. You're not as hot, and the likelihood of it tearing and bursting is a lot lower if you have a size bigger. Yeah? Okay, so now our models are going to start for you. The first thing,
Might be nervous when you're dealing with.
pardon?
You might be nervous when you're dealing with somebody.
Exactly. So we missing a model on this stage over here.
Oh Lord, my dear.
You ready? Okay, so we are on the farm. We have our water boots, we have our coveralls, normal coveralls, we have our water boots, right? So the next thing we need to do,
Let's put the water boots over or in?
No, in.
in.
So put my water, put them and put the water boots
And then,
over.
no, you
No,
take
no,
the water
these
boots
are
off
booties.
and then you put that on so it goes into, but you're going to put a cover on that again.
You have these boots.
Yes. So take your boots off.
That's what I'm saying.
No, it stays on.
But this one is difficult.
Yes, but you also put the booties inside the boots.
These are booties, doctor. Probably handicapped boots.
Because remember, so you're supposed to have two.
Double layer.
Right?
So
So
double layer
even
protection.
if you just have booties, the inner boot would have,
Yeah. So double protection.
so ideally this is what you're supposed to do. Now, as I said earlier, these are a little different because the booties are already attached. But the first thing you would have had to do is to put the inner boots. Oh. So the first thing you have to do is put your disposable boot covers over your water boots, right? That would have been the first thing you do. But these have the booties. So what they did was put the booties and the coveralls over the water boots. Okay? Understood? Yeah?
Yeah.
Right.
So I guess because everything is in one, so the Tyvek suit is on.
So you would have to take the booties.
No, not yet. Now there is, as you mentioned, there is some instances when the booties might slide. So you could actually take a piece of tape and tape it around your foot, right? So we have our PPEs on. Okay? Then after you have your Tyvek suits on, you put your second pair of disposable boot covers. You're following me or? Sorry. Second pair of boot covers. Second pair of boot covers.
One thing really fast.
Because it's easier to put on the gloves first. And
you have to put a second pair of gloves.
Alright. So, second, my boot covers?
Yes, your boot covers. The reason why the glove doesn't come yet is
How long will you
because
take?
put the
Time.
the
People are time dying.
tape, so that the glove will stick on the glove.
So
Okay, so
Don't do what I just did. Follow Dr. P's instructions.
so we put, that's probably what I should have done. Put one to do and one not. Okay, so now that you have the book covers on, you take your two of your long tape, not the longest, two of your long tape and secure it around your foot, your leg, securing the book cover to the Tyvek suit. Ensuring that your Tyvek suit and your book covers are stuck together. There's no entrance of anything, there's no space, there's nothing like that. Yeah, that's it.
That's why you're putting the gloves on after this.
Yeah.
When you can hold this.
Because it's
Too short.
too
Do you see what I mean? My piece of tape is too short. Okay, so that's why you have a partner and you ensure that you gauge your size and you don't gauge how much tape you need. It's better you have more tape than less tape.
I guess if you were to be going by yourself, you'd have a roll of tape so you
Yes.
just add custom.
Yes.
What do you want if you have?
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
The other side is downstairs in the kids. And you understand why sometimes it's important to have a buddy system. Because for example, let's say Doc did not realize that her tape was too short and she tapes to the front, she figured she could. At the back, she might be exposed. Yeah?
That's it there for the whole day.
Okay, so this is what it is going to be like. Alright? Now you have to also ensure that when you tape, that you are able to move your knees up. You're still able to walk and you're not cutting your circulation in your legs.
I best overstep my circulation.
So don't put it too tight. Sorry, I keep moving away from the mic. I'm sorry. So you don't put it too tight. You could actually move and you won't get cold feet, literally, because you have cut your circulation. Yeah? So then, you move to the next slide.
This one, yes.
Then you put in
Stanley.
now you put in your inner glove.
You were too early, man. You were too early.
When you place your inner glove on, you use it, it's supposed to go under the Tyvek suit, and you use the thumb to pop a hole in your Tyvek suit. Remember, the Tyvek suit is hard, so you might need a little bit of pressure to pop a hole. Why do you think that is necessary?
To keep it on.
To keep it secure.
It's not that actress.
Okay?
To the whole.
Trying to make them more smaller.
Alright, so we have our thumbs now in our Tyvek suit. Okay? Then you put your second pair of gloves.
Would it be better if a second pair of gloves was like a bit longer?
Ideally, but in some cases we don't.
And a larger pair.
Your second glove should be a little larger.
It's going to be very hard. Take that in the
And thank you, Ellie. Ellie, is it?
Yeah.
L?
Yeah.
Okay. We should have, the Tyvek suit is on, so it should have been zipped all the way to the top, and we should have put in our tape.
Assistant.
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 So you see,
The longer one, the longer one.
you see how it can be a little difficult when you have to do it on your own and time consuming, because you want to make sure. It is very important that you don't adequately.
I remember the
Robin.
And especially, yeah.
ASF.
The lucky thing is that ASF is not zoonotic, so you can have a little bit of wiggle room, but I wouldn't advise. But once the disease is zoonotic, you have to make sure.
All of this.
For example, you're dealing with an Ebola, right? Okay, that's all I have to say. Yeah?
No room for mistakes.
Can we take?
So right next you tape the glove. So L, as you're mentioning, it should be longer, but in most cases the way the gloves are made, we get those the same length. So you have one that is a little bigger than your hand, and you secure it with the tape. So the glove goes on top of the Tyvek suit, and you secure it with your duct tape. So you see the importance of the duct tape, something so simple. And again, do not put it too tight that you cannot move your wrist, or you have cold fingers because you cut your circulation. Yeah? So have a look at our models to see how the hands and the legs are secure, and now they're securing the yes. So this was the first method I mentioned to you. If you look at Robin, if you have a look at model Robin over there, you will see the tape across the top that would prevent the zipper from going down, right? But the ideal is to have it like Dr. Melville, because that's the weakest point, and it can, especially if you are in a situation and you do not have a size up, because you know we have limited resources. If it's only medium we have to respond to medium with the medium, so we have to do what we have to do. Yeah? Okay, so we move to the next slide. Then we move to the face covering. You look for your face mask or your face shield, and you secure it. Ensure that it fits snug, and there is no room for things getting into your face. In this case, we have the shields, but you could use the goggles, you could use the N95 masks, and all of these things. Now we also have a problem with persons who wear glasses. Alright, usually we fog up. Believe me, during COVID I was suffering. But the shield could help. The shield will work better than the goggles with the glasses, when you have the glasses. We do have goggles. I know. We're using the shield because it's a more. Yeah, but we do have goggles. You want to have a question?
No, I'm saying, if it was a zoonotic, would you all use that kind of face covering?
Yes, you can still use that kind of face covering, but if it's a situation like Ebola, you would use the respirator, those big ugly.
Yes.
Right, but if it's African swine fever we're responding to, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we put our face mask, we put our protective wear, we put our ear plugs, then the last thing we do is put our hair covering. Now, some of the Tyvek suits have hoodies. We would still advise that you put your hair covering and the hoodies after. Because sometimes the hoodies fall, at least have hoodies?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, so you put your face covering and then you put your hoodies. So this is how you are fully PPE'd. Make sure all your hair is inside. Yes. Okay, so can I ask?
Yes, we should. So this is a flexi shield. So the hoodie can cover the flexi shield to keep as much of your skin away from. So I could ask that my two models stand to the front so we could take a photo of them fully PPE'd, if that's the word. They also advise if people are not too blind to go in without the glasses. I would not advise contact because you have to take it out. I prefer, at least with the glasses, if you go with the glasses, easy to disinfect, you drop it in disinfectant, but the contact, I still have to push my hand in my eyes. I would not advise the contact. So if we can see, go ahead. If we can't, then we have to try to manage the fogging, maybe having systems in place where
somebody's in for a few minutes and shift changes, right? But then again, our team is small, so that one might be difficult as well. So this is what we look like when we are fully done. So, now, the fun part, that is when I got stuck the last time. So it can be a little challenging. So let us move to the doffing.
So you try to take it out and not contaminate yourself.
And not contaminate. Yes?
Yeah, it might be an obvious one, but you were saying that you did mention earlier about the safe space, but all of that done on the side.
In the clean area. So you dawn in the clean area. Right? So when you fully clothed, now you could step out of your, either your virtual line or your bucket. You could have a bucket to demarcate the space. You could have a foot bath to demarcate. You find a way to demarcate your areas. Right? Something that will work for you. There's nothing, not one size fits all. What will work for you? Yeah? So now they are fully done. They moved into the infected area. They did all what they had to do. And now they need to dock.
Where do we go? Now we're back in the clean area.
So when you doffing, do you go back to the clean area to take it out?
No.
Where do you take it out?
You stay in the dirty
So
area.
you come
If you're contaminated, you don't want to move it across.
But I'm saying if you take it out in the dirty area, wouldn't you be stepping
No,
out?
no, no.
If you in the
If
dirty area.
we
watch-
move,
when we
when
finish,
when
when
we
we
go
watch
to the
the
docking area,
procedures.
you will see what happens. Okay? So you were in a pen, right? You've done what you have to do. You coming out from one of the stalls in the pen. Now, one thing I forgot to mention at the beginning, and Dr. Melville mentioned it, when the person enters the farm, they do a layout. So in that layout, you decide in what area you come in and what area you come out. You should never go in and out from the same area. Now, in our situation, it may cause a little bit of a problem, but we try our best to keep the clean area clean and the dirty area dirty. So we try our best to separate the two. Yeah? So you went to Dalian's farm. You've decontaminated, you've killed the pigs, you've done all what you have to do. Now it's time for you to come out. Oh, I shouldn't say kill the pigs. You've taken your samples. Now it's time for you to leave. So you step out of the pen. You're still in the dirty area. Okay? You step out of the pen. First thing you need to do is remove your tape.
So probably we can have our models go over here, the dirty side.
Oh,
alright.
alright.
So they pop onto the clean side.
So the dirty slide is
Yeah.
beyond the table.
Well, probably
no.
go on that side. Like,
So yeah, go on this side as your clean side, go
Yeah.
on your dirty side to the
Yeah,
left,
like
but
that
you
over here.
might not see everybody. Everybody.
Dirty clean, dirty clean.
Okay, I
Maybe
know
I
it's
should
your
pull
background.
this.
Dirty clean.
Okay, alright.
So what do I do?
So you wanted it dirty now?
I'm on the dirty now. Yeah.
So you're not in the clean, you're still in the dirty.
Yeah, this is dirty.
So where's the clean?
Behind me.
I'm really close.
Alright,
You have to
so-
be closer, but you have to.
Okay,
There's a
so
line which separates.
you have come out, you came out of your infected area. First thing you need to do is move your tape. Your tape from your outer
So
glove.
I go into
and
my
your
clean
outer-
area or I'm still in my
You're still in the
dirty?
dirty area. Because remember, you're dirty.
Right. So I
You
remove
got
the
your
tape.
Now,
Give me the bags.
in your dirty area.
On your time.
Yeah, the side.
All that is.
Okay.
On your time.
Ideally, when you come in, you should have an area where you have your bin, a receptacle to collect your garbage, right? In the dirty area.
Oh, take that blue.
Take the blue.
Okay, so we have taken off our tape and we stick our tape on us, or if we have a bin close to us, a garbage bag close to us, we dispose of it in that garbage bag, yeah?
So I'm using this as my garden. This is how I put back after.
Alright? So you've taken out your outer glove.
At some point, you're going to get something.
No, hold on.
Pick up that
No, not yet, sorry. Okay, so you unzip your coveralls.
Unstick it. Unstick.
Looking at the top, you have your fish at the top, yes. You unzip up the tape. And you unzip your coveralls. turning them as you go. So you take it out.
Very cumbersome.
So you try not to touch the inside with your dirty glove. So you hold the outside and you try to roll it out.
Sorry.
Until it completely.
My buddy will help me.
But then your
My body has to be
Your body has left you
Yes,
alone.
your body, on your body system, the body would be dressed like you as well.
Okay.
So you roll out, you see how you roll out your glove from the outside in. You don't touch inside because you're dirty. Your hands are dirty, you cannot touch inside the thing because inside your Tyvek is clean. Right? So you could either do it like Robin, or you could do like Dr. Melville and you could use your shoulders as well to help you get it off. So when you reach to the end by your hands, that's when your outer glove comes out with your
Yes.
Okay? See that? And you continue rolling it down from the inside.
Yeah, that does not.
Imagine if
Yeah.
So you roll it out from the inside because now you have your clean gloves, your inner gloves, they're clean. So you roll it down from the inside, yeah? And from then you should be able to take out your outer boot cover with the PPE.
Oh, the tape.
That is where I got stuck when I reached that stage. Oh, you didn't take out your tape?
No. So remember, technically we have two boot covers. So I'll just, if I pull it on, I'm pulling on both. That's fine.
Okay.
So you see why down was not only so okay because she put a boot in the boutique.
Oh no, because you have your boots. You have your boots.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I can pull out.
I will just explain.
So I'm going to pull everything down.
Take everything out.
Right.
I will
There you go.
explain everything.
Voila.
Okay?
And then you jump into your one because you go back to the
Voila.
So when everything is done, you should have, so you're close to your liner,
Yeah.
and you should have your disinfectant, your foot bath close to you in the dirty area.
Like the back, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Do you want to take one of this? Just use the cup of this. Okay, so you're in the dirty area. Okay, so when you take off
I will need help with this,
your PPEs, you try your best not to step. You step straight into the water bath. Step into the water.
your help.
I wouldn't be on the side.
Balance.
You have to.
Into the water.
There you go, voila.
Straight into your foot bath.
Yes,
And
that's
this
it.
goes
That's
into
it.
your
Both these arms. Both these arms, Robin.
So your PPEs, your dirty PPEs,
Come on, Robin.
stay in
Yes.
the dirty area in your bin. Yeah.
How much past is the bleach to water in your...
It all depends on what you use. Normally we would use something called
Yes, that's it.
Vicons.
You're gonna be on the side
It's a
alone.
quaternary ammonia compound, which is it's more effective than bleach. Bleach is known that bleach does not
In your
react,
garbage
does not
bag.
work very well
That's a clean
in
area.
organic material.
She just contaminated the clean area.
No, my clean area is her.
Oh, so that one behind them.
So what's the name of the...
Vircons, VIRKONS. This is one of the disinfectants that we use in infectious disease outbreaks. Yeah, the bleach is said that it does not work very well in the presence of organic material, and also bleach decomposes quickly. So if it's in hot sun, it will deactivate very, very quickly. Yeah. So you've taken off your PPEs, and now you are in your foot bath. You use now you also would have by your foot bath, you have your foot brush.
So you have to prepare your dirty area before you...
Okay, that one.
That's one kit. That's one kit. That's one kit.
Guys, keep in mind the different pieces of instrument which you have to use. We have 4 groups, so So that is not going to happen out there or what. We try to keep it in mind, the sequence. It's a bit lengthy and intense, but there's a rhythm to follow. So try to keep it in mind, because in the groups, everybody is going to have a different activity to do. All right, keep in mind that procedure, please.
What I could advise as well, I noticed you had kids, so each kid has a checklist.
Okay.
Right? So you know what exactly has to go in your kit for both the dirty and the clean area. Yeah? So now this is done. You have washed your boots. You try to step, of course you have disinfecting solution. You move from, oh no, sorry.
Okay. We also have sprayers.
Yes.
Because we use not have a football.
Yes.
They move the facial
Yes.
stuff.
So you remove your hairnet, your hairnet and your face protection in the dirty area. Okay? You finish cleaning your boots, you move to your clean area. You try your best when you're stepping out of the disinfectant that you do not step in the dirty area. So you move to your clean area. In your clean area, you will also have another receptacle because you need to take off your gloves, right? There is the sprayer you were talking about. You can now use your sprayer when you finish with your the other pieces of equipment that you have. So for example, in the dirty area, you would have your gloves and all of those kind of things. Your sample kits has to be disinfected, so you could use a sprayer to do that. You would have your garbage bag that would have all of those things. You have to spray it and put it in another cleaner garbage bag and spray the outside of it as well. All of that is done in your clean area. So that's why you still need your gloves in the clean area. Yeah? You get me? You understand? And you will also have the hand sprayers for your hands as well.
So Doc, your sample kits for your samples will be cleaned before you dock, correct? Or after you dock?
It will be cleaned after you doff, because you still have,
in the dirty area?
no, because it will be right by you whilst you're doffing. So when you're in the foot bath and you have taken off all your stuff, you take the sprayer, you spray, and you can stretch it into your clean area. The garbage bag and all of these things have to be sprayed and placed in another garbage bag, placed into your clean area. And everything that you have, your equipment, you have in the foot bath, you could use a brush there also to clean those things as well. And you put everything in your clean area.
Hopefully we have somebody assisting.
Yes, most likely you will have someone in the clean area.
And you can also use a garbage bag on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have either a big
Garbage
garbage bag or big tarpaulin or something like that to help.
Sometimes you buy a farm, it's muddy, it's dirt. Yeah.
Right, that's part of what I want to ask, because I mean, I appreciate the estimation here, but with regards to the life scenario on a farm, where the farmer has moved indiscriminately on his farm, what are the guidelines that we should follow to determine where the clean area starts?
Okay, so ideally you would have, well, theoretically you would have a clean area and a dirty area, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is 100% clean, but it is cleaner than the dirty area. The dirty area is where you for sure you know the virus is, because the animals are sick there. So the clean area, that's why you still disinfect your supplies before you put it in your vehicle, because there's still a likelihood that even if you have the tarpaulin on the floor, if the virus, for example, is an aerosol, it can be in your clean area as well. But the likelihood is a lot lower in the clean area than the dirty area. So you look at your farm, and you look at your layout, and you look at where you think is the most ideal place to set up as your clean area. Usually it should be far away from the farm, as far away as possible from the farm. Yeah?
So in that scenario, the foot bath will not be necessarily present there. So there must be some other means of disinfecting.
I didn't get your question.
No, if it's far from the farm, then your foot bath, that structure may not necessarily be in the clean, what do you mean? It's also something that you carry.
Yes,
It's not
so it's
necessarily
a
on the farm.
container. So
Oh,
you
okay.
make your own
You make your own
So you put it wherever you
I
want.
understand.
Yes. wherever you.
I was thinking of what some.
You think about the farmer knows
Yeah.
our food bags.
Yes.
And even sometimes what can be done too, when you finish stuffing and so on and you throw off the solution, you could make fresh solution, and when you go to your car, you could have it just in front of your car, you step in it again, you sit in your car, and you take off whatever you have left to take off and disinfect your shoe.
Just a point. From the footage you just sent to us, it says, first of all, you try to select, as soon as you're coming on, you try to select an area where you park away from the pen. So if this is the pen there, you don't come and park right up next to the pen. So you probably park, say 10 meters, 15 meters away. And then as you get closer, then you decide what's going to be your clean area and what's going to be your zone. It will most likely an imaginary zone. And it will not be for you, it will be for whoever comes after. Because if you're already there, you're already stuck in there. So when you call for support and support comes in, then you will tell them, hey, this is what I think we should put the dirty area and the clean area and stuff like that. But you have to strategically put things down. You're already in the hot seat. You cannot move until your backup comes. But then when your backup comes, hopefully there'll be other people who will do assist, and then we'll probably have to do the decision of you as well.
Just take a shower there.
Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have those kind of amenities on our farms. It would have been the ideal. When you're there, you just hose down yourself and you change your little clothes and you go in your car. But unfortunately, we don't have those. We will move to the next. Okay, so when you took out all your stuff, in this case we had a disposable mask and so on, so you threw it away. But if you had a goggle, you would have another bucket that you would drop your goggles in for disinfecting. You sanitize your book covers. I think I said all of that before we reached there. And the last thing you do, you sanitize your hands. Yeah.
Question, comment. Typically our officers should be wearing a coveralls, especially in a situation like this. But what you do is you take off the coveralls, you can wash your coveralls and so on. You can even wash it all together, the laundry and so on. But that's going to be very important. Coveralls and tie-ins.
Right. So the ideal thing is, because of our weather condition, is to just wear street clothes under your Tyvek, but make sure when you take off the Tyvek, when you get to wherever you go, the first thing that goes is that it goes into your wash, and not wash with everything else, but you wash on your own. On its own, you put it to soap or whatever, but that's the ideal thing. Yeah?
But what's the feeling of when it be a coveralls and different? I don't
Recommend that,
know.
don't look out there for us. So as much as we are interested in keeping ourselves safe from the virus, we also need to keep ourselves safe from collapsing and so on. So we have to ensure that we remain hydrated, ensure that if we are too hot and we're sweaty and so on, that we have some form of a shift system where whoever is in there works for 15 minutes and then somebody else comes to take over. I know it's difficult because we have a small team, but we have to try to see what works for us, because these Tyvek suits are not easy. We did a simulation exercise maybe about 11 or 16 years ago, about 17 years ago, and we had persons just sweating. So then we realized that we have to have, because we're doing in birds, it's a lot smaller than swine. So we have to put something in place where you have turns, in other words, so that somebody doesn't spend 3-4 hours on a farm before feeding it. Yeah?
In there and the garments.
Yes, people were just, and we didn't want anybody to collapse on us. That was another thing. So it's also very important to ensure that you have a first aid kit with you. Okay? Next. Okay, so I was going to have a practical session for persons, but I realized our time is very limited. So, and I think we went through a very in-depth presentation. Our models did very well.
Thank you.
So I think, and I also think that in your WhatsApp group, a video was circulated to show you. So you keep those videos. I also have some handouts that I put in my computer bag. You could have it to keep. So you could, in the event of an outbreak, you have it right there for you to see what needs to be done. So So in this case, you see that there's a body system, so the body is helping the other one. Yeah? So let me see, I don't think I think I have something on the next slide. Let me see. Oh. Questions, any questions? Although I think it was very interactive, people were asking questions throughout. If you have any burning questions, feel free to ask. We have enough persons here that can answer. Great, so everybody understood, so everybody's going to don and doff effectively and safely. God forbid that we have an outbreak of any infectious disease. Thank you for your attention.
Now is the time for us to practice. It's okay to make mistakes. It's a learning exercise. You don't have to get it perfect on the first try, but at least you understand what we did wrong, you know, how you can correct it. So it's a training exercise for us to understand how we do it. It's just one of the exercises.
I think we should have given Dr. Melville
Yes.
the MC job. She's trying to take away all my pointers. But we know repetition makes things better. And the more we try something, the better we get at it. And I could give you countless examples of things we'd like to try over and over to get it right. You know, but I leave it to your imagination. So as Dr. Melville said, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't make deliberate mistakes, but don't be afraid that you make a mistake. And this is the easiest way for you to actually learn. You do something wrong or not how it's supposed to be done and you get corrected, it sticks. And this is a very long process. So imagine you're doing this under a real case scenario. Okay? You're nervous now and there's no outbreak. So when there is an outbreak, believe me, you're going to be extremely nervous. But the more we practice, is the better we get at whatever we do. Alright? Now, when you're set into your groups has to have different roles. You're going to have a leader, you're going to have a data collection person, you're going to have somebody who's going to restrain the animal, you're going to have someone who's going to be taking the sample. So everybody has a role and you need to get those people up to speed. 1 second. Yes, now.
Mr. Melville, when you're putting your groups together, when you're looking at the names, you consider which of them have those qualities, each of those things.
Well, in life, not cutting you short, in life we can't always pick what we want. If we were able to pick the right partner, we would do that, we'd pick the right house, we'd pick the right car. Sometimes you get whatever deck of cards are dealt to you, or hand the cards are dealt to you, is what you have to play. So on the day of an outbreak, I might be in Soufre, it might be Chrissy there, it might be Trisha, and it may be somebody from health, and then they have to work with it. So you cannot really look and pick and choose when a disease outbreak. It could be that you have gone to a site or location to examine it because the farmer wants to extend. So you have brought in health, you have brought in engineering and stuff, and something like that happens. So everybody has to play a part. So you cannot always have the dream team. Only in wrestling that happens. You have the dream team when it comes there, or basketball, and you pick who you want and stuff like that. But when you're in the situation, given the situation, you'll be surprised how this mixed up group can work and be very, very good at what it has to do. So you're all going to be given your lists so that you're going to take your information. You all will, there's a head, and then they'll tell everybody else what they need to do. I will, before we watch, we have a 2-minute video in relation to collection of the blood. I will run through the groups again so that people know which groups they're in. Okay, and as I said, nothing is cast in stone neither, and you see what happened? It has changed. So, group 1, and I'll call the leaders first. Dr. Darrell Best, followed by Chelsea Phillips, Clement King, Cecilia Baptist, Chrissy Carabat, Elisha Leon. Group 2, Stanley O'Shaughnessy, Brandon Odlam, Jumin Pete, L. Caris Hyacinth, Brian Wilson, Nilas Marquis. Group 3, Timothy Norville, Emmanuel Stanislas, Craig Paltor, Jumin Peters.
Jumin 2 groups?
No, I changed Jumin. Jumin is no longer in group 2. They have moved him across to group 3. Okay?
Jumin is no longer here.
He's no longer here. Okay, no problem. Michael McDonald, Darian Louisi. Group 4, Dr. Kitanda, Albert Tarabasad, hello. Albert Tarabasad, Daria Karabat, Roseanne Dulis, and Trisha Amidi. Now some groups will have less people, than others because we don't have everybody here at work. So when you all go in your groups, we will see who else we are going to fit in. Okay? And we have in group 4, Martin Stanislas. Okay, where is Martin? Can Martin stand for a second? Yes, this is an unofficial member of our staff in the South, and today is like his day. He's in normally Thursdays, Fridays, and this guy just gives unconditionally. So give him a round of applause and support and the encouragement, and we will see him out in action today. He will blend in and he will answer Nilas's question that you use the tools which are afforded to you on the day. Alright? So you don't have to be qualified in lab work to be doing that on that day. Alright? So, I pass you on to Mr. King so that he could run you through our 2-minute session, and then we are going to wrap up so we could head out.
Collect blood by ear swab. Before any sample collection occurs, be sure to read other considerations regarding this sample technique in the description below. You will need the following supplies: a rubber band or elastic band, a rayon polyester swab, a 20 gauge needle, a snap cap tube with 1 milliliter of sterile saline, and paper towels or wipes. This sample collection technique requires 2 people. Person 1 will restrain the animal. If you aren't familiar with this restraint method, a separate video tutorial is linked in the description. Now that we have the proper supplies and our animal is restrained, let's start the sample collection. First, clean off the ear with a paper towel or wipe if dirty. Place the band securely around the base of the ear. Veins should quickly become apparent. Start towards the edge of the ear. Use the needle to prick the vein. Blood should begin to pool. Use the swab to collect blood until the swab is saturated. Remove the band from the ear. Break off the tip of the swab into a snap cap tube with sterile saline and secure the lid. Check the animals to confirm normal activity in the pen when bleeding is complete. Promptly refrigerate samples for shipment. Accurately submit samples to a veterinary diagnostic laboratory. If you aren't familiar with proper sample submission, a separate video tutorial is linked in the description. Thanks for watching. More swine sample collection tutorials can be found at secure.
Run that again, please.
So for this one, it states that we have to snap off the swab into the tube and leave it there. However, for the MTM tubes that we'll be using, we are going to pool samples together. We're supposed to submit 15 samples?
Yeah,
15 samples, and we're going to do 5 pigs per tube. 15 tubes, but 70 samples. So we're going to pool. So you take 5 pigs, you swab the pigs, the eggs, then you place it into the MTM medium, and then you mix it around. Make sure that try to get as much blood from that swab as possible. Squeeze it against the walls of the tube, and then you discard it. Then you do it again for the second pig in that same tube with blood. So you do it 5 times and you pull the samples together. So we're taking 70 samples, but we will have 15 tubes or 14 tubes.
They needed blood from 5 different regions.
In one tube.
But you're not using the same swab.
No, you're not using the same swab. So you have a clean swab for each pig.
Okay. So basically what we're going to do, in each room we're going to run with 5 animals and make it easier. It's a trial and practice session. So we're going to do 5 samples. We're restrain 5 different animals, take 5 samples, and then we are going to run it in. But in question on the day or when we have an outbreak, the The sample collection is going to be a wider pool. Today is to get the hang of it and make sure that everything is okay. If for some reason that you are not comfortable and you need to, then we will do some more. But given the time and the amount of people we'll have there in that one small area, we are just going to run 5 samples. So each group is going to take 5 samples. If need be, we shall take more. Does everyone understand?
So 5 samples with the 1 NTM tube.
So each group gets 1 tube and with 5 samples.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So
If you for some reason someone thinks that they need to take a try again, we are there. We will try. All right. But each room has more than 5 animals. Okay. Now, in this situation, there we will not be tagging. But if it is a case where you're going to take particular samples of from the animal, and the animals are not tagged, we would tag and record. So for today, we are going to be taking records, female, whatever, just basic records. But in the actual scenario or the actual outbreak, you would have to tag those animals in order to create what we would call a paper trail. So you know, in room 1, we did 17, 18, and 30. Room 2, so and so and so. So for today, we are just running through. We will not be that. We do imaginary tagging. Okay, and I'm sure a lot of you have a good imagination in there. We do imagination and then put down the information. But it's to get accustomed to the procedure which you have to follow in case of an outbreak.
You said if there's an outbreak, so animals are sick about to die and you're taking samples from them, you tag them anywhere.
It would be wise because if you get in one room, you get the dead animals dead.
Or should you rather maybe label the room? Because most likely all the pigs in there will be sick and they will die.
Maybe. What happens if you well, it depends. I would tag. I rather tag it. Because remember, you are stuck there. You're not moving. You're waiting for a team to come in. Because there's a disease or you suspect something you have called. What are you going to do all that time? You just don't sit there.
Can I?
It can help. Well, yes. Let's doctor.
Based on the fact that we are looking at, and it all depends on our epidemiological
Investigation?
not investigation, the thing.
Situation?
No, the word just jumped. But anyway, your focus, right? So your epidemiological unit. In cases it could be an animal. So you want to know if an animal is positive or not. But with ASF, because if it is highly infectious, what you want to identify is if a farm is infected or not. So in this case, your epidemiological unit would be your farm. So it's not necessary to tag. But if it's a case where you want to know, if it's not an infectious problem and you want to just know which animal is infected, then it's better to use the tag. Yeah. So with the surveillance activity, the pilot that's going to happen in May, most likely we're looking at the farm.
Okay, back to the drawing board. The groups have changed. You all know. Group 1, Dr. Best.
Who's the team leader?
Yes, I'm calling the team leaders first. Okay, so Group 1, Dr. Best, Clement, Cecilia, Chrissy, and Niles. That's Group 1. Group 2, Stanley, O'Shaughnessy, Brandon, L, Caris, and Elisha. Group 3, Timothy, Emmanuel Stanislas, Dalian, and Chelsea. Group 4, Dr. Kitander, Roseanne, Trisha, Craig, and Martin. Does everybody know where they're heading to? No. Robin, Group 3. We will understaff you, just help out our situation. Tiffany, are you going into the field first? Or you'll be one of the general observers? Yeah, so I would have taken the same course as you. Yes. Okay, and we'll have our observers there. So guys, there's nothing to be nervous about. Let's try and make it as seamless as possible. And let us go out there and collect our samples and get these under control. You're still sitting there?
Visible a lot of debris, you just use clean water and try to scrub it out, but you don't use alcohol.
Okay, very good. Because we have alcohol.
Yeah.
So let me get some pieces together for you on the tickets.
And another thing that I could suggest too when you cut your sample, your tissue in different pieces, and you like little what they call them, swabs. You just put them there instead of having the whole roll. Yeah, so about 8 or 10, you put them together. So you just pull out one when you need to use your cut. Yeah.
So everything's ready? No, I mean, okay.
Where are the hogwash? My team leader.
Team, let's get so let's try to do that. So
Go Shanti.
can come out of the So you remember our PPE, normally we get very hot in them, so those who are ready,
I'm ready since that.
so the first team,
After she all this. How you know it's okay? You don't need it. Thank you. What is it for the factor? Red, purple.
Yes, guys, you want to do that or you want me to do it? But these things are cheap.
Just hold the leg and no, that's the neck.
They don't fit.
What you can also do, one person can open your leg. It's very smaller. Come.
Watch yourself, Bill. I see.
Alright, guys. In that case, we'll have to pull out the old school method, alright?
Look.
Okay.
And now you can. That's number one.
No, Paris.
Paris, you have to
That's not
open
gonna
it.
stay.
No.
That's not gonna
Paris,
stay.
open.
It's not gonna stay in the pig. That's not gonna stay because the pig dog teeth is not gonna
it's a
stay.
young pig.
Yeah, it's a young pig.
So we'll probably have the other restraint, which doesn't run the video for the restraining of the animal. So this one,
Put it over the wall.
you have to put it on you.
Oh, we can put it over the wall.
Don't put it over the wall of the USDA.
Yeah.
Because that's against, they will not think. So for a situation like that, you're supposed to hold it against you and the air. So you lift up the pig, you hold it, and then I'll send you the videos. And the air, so the whole pig is around on you, resting on you, and then somebody else does the since they don't have
Every team have a hot holder.
Yeah. My team will
turn it.
Right. I think where's the toilet here? Where's the toilet here?
Right. Remember to clean.
No water. Yeah. You blocking the Look. Look up in there. Yeah. With the swab in the cooler. Look in your head. Yes. You ready? And you are. I know I was in for you too. Right there.
Okay. Okay, so
This is my friend. Wait. Go closer to where you see the vein next.
Just now, give me 1 second there, then.
You dying? Give me. No, just now.
Yeah.
That's a big baby with nothing.
You know you have the Christmas on, right?
No, I know because of the mashup. It's really. And some of
That's good carrots. Yes.
Yes, now.
Take out the tourniquet. Take out the tourniquet. You let the blood phone me.
Sorry.
Go in very quick, right?
who's supposed to be big
No, take it out, take it out.
Oh, we not really. But when you have your team, make sure everybody tell everybody their job.
The rule, yeah.
Yes. I did two in there.
Carries the contaminating your blood to the mouth.
Everybody did one hour.
Yeah, he told us it.
Alright.
Carry so you bring it now, eh?
Okay, so next one. Any of one left?
What are they? Like what?
Yorkshire is like
We're going to tag ocean. They don't have teeth. So if you can get the bigger one. The bigger one is easier. Where's the free?
No, that's the sound. The end of the song. That's the apple.
Spray that thing. Spray. Yeah, hold on. Let's keep that thing. You got it. You need something there. You don't need anything there. That's how they will pick for her. Let's spray to them.
I thought the line is pushing up like. It's open again.
Now what about the what else person? So I'm gonna
Capital.
squeeze it along the right.
Pick it up, cut it.
Tap it. Then place this back in there if you can. Sample collected.
No, I don't see any garbage bag.
Is there any separation between?
So that's very good.
What?
Because y'all, when we came in, did we decide which area
The
was the
thing was
flow?
up there.
No.
How we were flowing?
You going out.
Uh.
How can I?
Exactly. We were supposed to determine the flow. Because the people coming in should not be in contact with the people coming
Going
out.
out.
So beautiful observation.
So what I go? No, then I go there. I can't see nothing. So I go pick the animal.
What?
I can't see.
Let somebody else do it.
I can't see.
Cecilia, you can see? No. So my suggestion is that this side go a little more like this. Pull your foot back. And again, I guess this is the way the pen is designed. It's like we have to figure it out before you go inside.
So now we
That was the line here. Yeah. Yes, but then what happened is that the root was coming in. So it was that. Spray.
I don't have anything, huh?
It has. You have to come.
no, Papa. They tell you to roll.
Roll? I roll. I ain't just looking at roll.
Roll. They tell you to roll.
I don't like roller.
What a big roll.
I'm bringing you back.
Roll off your pipi.
Roll? Yeah, I'm not that already, bro.
And then when you do that, you're supposed to go up. Your cooler, you need to spray it. You need to spray the cooler.
Pull up just my team members. I don't zip them now.
No, you still have to spray.
Okay, spray boot.
You see how difficult it is when you present and it seems so easy?
That's right now, my run, my boy, run.
Yeah, looking for it's a nice talk.
Yeah, we're good. Spray boot.
Here's a garbage bag. Woo! Team members, wait. You have to put the garbage bag.
How many team members are that? They have everybody to set. There's somebody designated.
That's the bad thing with the Timex. I'm happy y'all did this. I'm really happy.
I didn't have to roll up. I think just stop off me. I didn't have to roll up. I just stop up. Like, just roll your body instead. You go up. Roll your body.
Leave it in the dirty area. Let me give you a bag. Thank God for Alan.